Hello, let's get started. To learn Java or to even start programming in Java, you need two things. One is the actual Java to be installed so you can compile and run your program. The second is some type of IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. What basically is a convenient way for you to write your programs. You can use the standard text editor. If you are in Windows, you can use Notepad. If you are in Mac, you can use any standard text editor program to create your Java programs. But using an IDE helps you in a lot of ways because it highlights if there are syntax errors that you are making and several things, and it just makes it easier to compile and run programs. So since the goal of this course or what you're trying to do is to basically learn the language, you want to make it as easy as possible for you to just do what you want, like code and compile and run. So we're going to install Java and we're going to install Eclipse, which is the IDE, which is one of the IDEs available for Java. Eclipse is one of the widely used ones, so we're going to use that for this course. To install Java, you go to Google, search for Java 8 download, and then the first link would be from oracle.com, which is what you need. You go in there, and then if you scroll down, these are all different things that you can download. We don't need the demos and samples now. Um, we need, let's take this one, 8U112. There are different versions here. Depending on the operating system you use, you have to download the one that you need. The basic difference for each operating system is there is a 32-bit version and there is a 64-bit version. So depending on the computer that you're using, you would choose one of those. I'm using a Mac 64-bit, and that's the only option available. So this is what I would download. I'm not going to install it because Java is already installed in this machine. So, but all it takes is you just have to click it after you accept the license agreement, and it will download and install. You can just install it as you would install any other application. Same thing for Windows. If you're in Windows, you would choose either this or this, depending on 32-bit or 64-bit that you're using, and then you would follow the setup process that you normally follow in Windows and install it. Once that's done, that completes the Java installation. So I encourage you to go ahead and complete that, pause this video, and then move on to the next step of installing Eclipse. Now, considering you already have Java installed, now we're going to focus on the Eclipse installation. So same way, we go to google.com and then say Eclipse download. And then we go to the first link, which is the Eclipse downloads. Actually, if I go back, it's easier to click this. Eclipse IDE for Java EE. And then there are different download links available. Again, there is a 32-bit version and a 64-bit version for Windows and Linux. And there's just one version available for Mac. I'm going to click this. And again, I have Eclipse installed, so but you would follow the same process of downloading and installing Eclipse, just like how you would install any other application. So again, I would encourage you to pause the video, get that completed, and then once you're done, move forward. So considering you have Java and Eclipse installed right now, um, you would go to Launchpad in Mac and basically look for Eclipse. It would be there. You can start it. Once you start, you can add it to your dock. That's what I have done here, but this is the first time. This is how the first time you would access Eclipse. So let's launch Eclipse. And then one of the first things that's going to show up is basically a pop-up um, that tells you where to create a workspace. Think about workspace as a collection of files. So if you're working on, let's say, a productivity program, or later on you're working on a game, or later on you're working on something else. So different development projects, I shouldn't say project because a workspace can contain a collection of projects, but depending on how you want to organize things, you can create multiple workspaces. So right now I have in my Eclipse, I have Java Basics for Android. That's basically the workspace name. So you can use the same or you can use a different thing. It doesn't really matter. But if you want to just follow along, just go ahead and type in your machine under your user profile Eclipse and then a name for the workspace. Again, you can just type Java Basics for Android. Once you're done, hit OK. This is going to open the workspace. In my machine, I already have some of the videos created, so I'm just coming back and creating this installation video. So once this opens, you would see a bunch of projects here, as you see. So ignore all this. In your machine, when you open the workspace for the first time, this will all be empty, and that's okay. This is what would show up. One of the first things that you need to do, depending on which machine or which type of OS you're using, if it's Mac, you would go to Eclipse Preferences, and if it's Windows, you will go to Window Preferences. So since I'm using Mac, I'm going to go to Eclipse Preferences. I'm just going to make this bigger. So go under Java and install the JREs. Just make sure this piece is added. Depending on which OS you're using, Java would be installed in different locations. Make sure there is a new JRE added, and the way to do that is you do add standard VM, and then you can go to directory and select the location where Java is installed in your machine, and that's basically that to it. And then it gets added. So what this is the JRE that will be used when you use Eclipse to run your programs. So for that, Eclipse needs that. So once it's done, you should be all set with the installation of Java and Eclipse, and all ready to do your first program. And that's what our next video is going to be, our very first Java program. Again, if you have any um, issues with the installation online, there are several sources about, or even docs about how to install Java and Eclipse for each of the operating systems. So I would really encourage you to use that, but the installation should be pretty straightforward. It should be pretty easy to install and get started. Thank you. See you in the next video.